The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom came out about a week ago at this point, and I have played like 4 hours of it. I know I'm slacking just a little bit, but I will be catching up pretty soon. The thing is I'm playing it mostly on stream, so if you like that game, stick around, subscribe to the channel, whatever, do all that shit. But today, we're gonna hear my first impressions of this game. Is it as good as Link's Awakening, the other 2D Zelda game on the Switch, or is it crap? Because a lot of people apparently think this game is garbage. I personally have been having a very good time with it, so let's get into it. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom was really highly anticipated by a lot of people because it was really Zelda's first foray into being the main character of her franchise that has been named after her for years and years. Obviously, there's this game. We don't talk about that one, okay, guys? Like, what the hell? Like, let's relax. But Echoes of Wisdom is something very, very strange. It is basically a Zelda dungeon builder, but not, okay? So this game was initially made, I think, to be that, and then it pivoted into a normal Zelda game, or normal in some respects, Zelda game, because they couldn't figure out some sort of parts of it, right? And as Zelda dungeon builder, listen, that would be sick, but I do really like what they did here. Instead of that, basically, what Zelda can do through this entire game is make copies of just about anything, and then you can place those copies of different, rocks or tables or beds or whatever the hell, wherever you want them. And then you can use that to sort of puzzle your way through different areas and what have you. You can also copy and make echoes of various different enemies, and that is really cool because after you beat them the first time, then you gain the ability to copy them and you can go from there. So that is all very, very cool, and it ends up sort of feeling Pikmin adjacent to me in some ways when I'm just throwing a bunch of random crap out there, hoping that something works and some of those monsters die. Now, this game is similar to the style of something like Link's Awakening that came out in 2019 for the Nintendo Switch, mostly graphically. It has that sort of, toy-adjacent art style where it's sort of like blurry on the sides and you're going through the thing. I don't know. I really like the art style. I think it's phenomenal, but a lot of people have been complaining about some, issues with the performance of this game, and I do want to quickly touch on that. I'm not usually someone that notices the performance of the games too much, and it has been reported that there's a lot of, frame drops in and out of different areas, like going into towns and stuff like that. I personally haven't noticed much of that, but what I have noticed is that the loading screens are really just there's an awkward amount of time there. It's not so long where it's super annoying, but it is noticeable every single time. It's very noticeable that you are indeed waiting for this next area to load in and stuff like that, and that can kind of take you out of the experience. So yes, should this game probably be on the Nintendo Switch too? Yes, it should. And obviously, I have a lot of opinions about the Nintendo Switch too, and I will talk about that soon, I think. Let me know if you want a video breaking down, all of the rumors, because I'm not about to turn into a daily Switch 2 YouTuber. You've got a lot of other people that are more than happy to do that, but I'll stay in my little sort of retro Nintendo think piece vibe. I don't even know what I do on this platform. I just talk about Nintendo, I guess, mostly. Anyways, back to Zelda. I think the game is really good. I've been having so much fun, and the gameplay loop hooks me, and it really, really makes me want to go back and play it more and more. I made a promise to myself that I would play this entire thing on stream. That's why I'm not as far as I should be, because there's been many a times where I had a little bit of time to play it, but not enough time to, stream it, you know what I'm saying? So, I've realized that, we'll just really go crazy for a couple streams and hopefully crank it out within that amount of time. But the game constantly has me thinking about it. I keep seeing memes and shit like that about it on Twitter, and I just love to see the Zelda community out here and thriving. There's some really funny little stuff on Twitter and some random shit that I thought was pretty clever with the game as well, and I do appreciate how it's basically a universal experience that everybody uses the beds to get around all of Hyrule. Hyrule here is pretty big. It's about 8 times the size of what it was in Link's Awakening, and so that's really cool. So there's a ton to explore and things like that. There's a pretty good map system that is very similar to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which I love. I think that is one of the best objective marker and map systems they have made, because it's fairly straightforward and you can really understand what you need to do, which I always appreciate in games. Something that is the biggest pet peeve of mine is getting lost and just aimlessly wandering around in games, and I fucking hate it. In this game and with this map system, it really allows you to know what you need to do and to get shit moving, which I absolutely adore. There's a ton of different things that you can do, from making smoothies and just exploring Hyrule. You can sort of like platform around, because sometimes you'll go into a like underground section and it turns 2D all of a sudden, which is super fun. That was one of my favorite parts of what they did with Link's Awakening, and so seeing that return here and hopefully become a staple of the 2D Zelda lineup of games would be phenomenal. It is a 2D Zelda, so the scope, while bigger than what we saw with Link's Awakening, it's obviously not going to be on the same level of something like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild. It is a 2D Zelda. It is a smaller, basically think of it as like the handheld Zelda experience, but of course now we have the Nintendo Switch, so we're going to get it at handheld and, at home, which is cool. So the main gimmick of this whole game is building stuff, and once you build stuff, you can do all sorts of different things, and that main gimmick is basically carrying you throughout the game. That's how you solve a bunch of different puzzles and things like that. And without getting too much into spoiler territory, I have beat the first 2 dungeons, and it does sort of like open up after the first one, so like, my dungeon might have been a different choice than some other people's, and so I beat those first 2, and I think the dungeons are phenomenal. Listen, I've never been like a preacher of the OG Zelda dungeons being something super special, because I don't really like the older Zelda games as much as I like the newer stuff, and so I don't really care, but I will say that it does feel a bit more traditional, and I think the older players are really going to appreciate that. You're basically going through these dungeons, finding keys to unlock doors, unlocking the doors, going in, getting an item, and unlocking the rest of the dungeon, and so it does feel like that, but you can, of course, cheese it to all hell because of the different things that you get. Like, you can literally, I was doing this a lot at the end of thing when I was, like, in the last dungeon. I would get really low on my health, I would spawn some monsters, and then I would go in the corner and sleep on my bed to regain some health, which I think is super funny that you can do that. It also has this ability where you can basically turn into Link for a little bit, and you yourself can go and attack these enemies, which is definitely helpful and definitely cool, and I'm glad that they put it in there. I do wish that it could last a little bit longer, but it also sort of takes, like, there's no reason to use the echoes, really, if that's what you're doing, so I get that would have kind of screwed up a lot of the gameplay, but I really like that gameplay that they added, and so, like, every time it's over, I miss it, and I want it back, and it does give you it quite a bit, because you keep, like, earning these little things that float around, and you get those to charge up your meter, and then once that's charged, you can use it. That happens a lot. So it's not that sparse, but I'm very, very conscious that it is limited, so I use it very sparingly, which, I wish I could just permanently run around as sort of Link, but maybe that comes later in the game or something like that, I'm not sure, and if it doesn't, it's actually not a big deal at all. The story of this, from what I've gathered so far of my first few hours playing, is fine. It's a Zelda story. I don't think it's super special. I don't know if there's ever been a Zelda story that has necessarily, like, moved me. I don't know if those are, like, I don't know. I didn't play a lot of the older ones, and I'm, like, going back and sort of playing them now, so, like, forgive me if I'm wrong. I know Twilight Princess was pretty good, and I guess I kind of like Skyward Sword and whatever, but, like, I don't know. I don't know if I understand the appeal of the Zelda story, so please educate me down in the comments below, just, like, nicely, if possible, because I am just a girl, I don't want to get attacked. But yeah, those are my thoughts on The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I'm having a great time with it, looking forward to playing it a lot more, and if you want to see me play it live and talk to me, be like, what the fuck is up, Josie? Well, how you been doing? What's up, Wozers? Like that, I'll be like, what the fuck is up? And we can talk. We can have a good time. So subscribe to the channel, check this video out. It's Banger, it's a vibe, it's a good time. Stop by to some of the streams, say hi, say what's up. Also, at the end of all these videos, I want to start introducing a thing where I just talk about a random topic that I like. D&D. I like it. If you like D&D, listen to NADPOD on Spotify. They're very good. They're like a bunch of comedians that play D&D. It's super fucking funny. I'll see you in this video. It's a banger, it's a vibe, it's a good time. See you over there. Goodbye.